Hi everyone, I'm Sir Art and I will be your teacher in this video tutorial. The topic that we're going to discuss is all about function as model, which is the content of the first module in quarter 1 of the senior high school general mathematics. In this video tutorial, you will learn how to represent real-life situations using function in simplest way because we will just going to follow 4 steps in representing real-life situations using functions. The first step, what is asked? Determine what the problem requires you to do. Second step, what is given? Identify the given data in the problem. Third step, what operation to be used? Decide the operation to be used as required by the problem. And the last step, write a number sentence. Represent the problem using a function notation. If possible, simplify the function. So those were the 4 steps to follow in representing real-life situation using function. Now, let us apply that different steps in answering the following problem. The first problem will be give a function c that can represent the cost of buying X meals if one meal costs 40. So we will follow the 4 steps that were mentioned earlier. The first one, what is asked? We need to determine what the problem requires us to do, which is to represent the cost of buying X meals wherein each meal costs 40 pesos. Second step, what is given? The given is the cost of each meal, which is 40 pesos. And the third step, what operation to be used? The operation to be used is multiplication. Multiplication since you're going to get the total cost of buying X meals. And the last step, write a number sentence. We will represent the problem using a function notation, which is the total cost is equal to the cost per meal times the number of meals. So we will let X be the number of meals and C of X be the total cost. Since each meal costs 40 pesos, you must multiply 40 by the number of meals, which is X, to know the cost of meals. Therefore, the cost function is C of X, which is the total cost, equals 40X, wherein X is the number of meals. So in this problem, X is an independent variable, while C is a dependent variable that depends on whatever the given values of X. So in example number 1, the representation of the problem using function notation is C of X is equal to 40X. Let us proceed with example 2. The next example, a certain ornamental plant shop in Nabwa charges 500 for a yearly membership. The first ornamental plant is free with the membership, and any plant after that costs 150 pesos, including tax. How much money does a shopper spend after buying pea plants and a yearly membership? So to answer that, we will follow the steps mentioned earlier. The first one is what is asked. Okay, the problem requires us to represent the total cost of in buying pea plants and the yearly membership fee. Second step, what is given? The given in the problem are 500 pesos, which is the cost of yearly membership, and 150 pesos, the cost of any ornamental plant. But we need to take note that the first ornamental plant is free along with the membership. So step number 3, what operation to be used? The operations to be used are multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Multiplication because we need to multiply the cost of each plant to the number of plant you're going to buy. And you're going to add that to the yearly membership. And subtraction because you will subtract the first ornamental plant since it is free along with the membership. And the last step, write a number sentence. The number sentence that will be represented in that problem is the total cost equals the annual membership fee plus the total cost of plants both. Since the total cost of plants both will be represented by 150, which is the cost of each plant, times the quantity. P is represented by each ornamental plant minus 1. Minus 1 since the first ornamental plant is free. So the total cost of that problem is just equal to M of P equals 500, which is the annual membership fee, plus the total cost of plants both, which is 150 times the quantity of P minus 1, wherein P is the number of plants. Okay, so in this number, P is the independent variable and M of P is the dependent variable. So let us proceed with the piecewise function. A function can be in pieces. You can create functions that behave differently based on the input, which is x value. So as mentioned earlier, there are 4 steps to follow in representing functions. But for piecewise function, we will add 3 sub-steps that will fall under step 4. So the first sub-step, identify the intervals for which different rules apply. Second, determine formulas that describe how to calculate an output from an input in each interval. And the third sub-step, use braces and if statements to write the function. So those are the 3 sub-steps to follow in representing real-life function into piecewise function. So the first problem, or the third problem in this tutorial, a user is charged 300 pesos monthly for a particular mobile plan, which includes 100 free text messages. Messages in excess of 100 are charged 1 peso each. Represent the monthly cost for text messaging using the function T of M, where M is the number of messages sent in a month. So again, the same as with problem number 1 and number 2, we will just follow the 4 steps, but here we add 3 sub-steps for step number 4. So the first step, what is asked? Determine what the problem requires you to do, which is to represent the monthly cost for text messaging using the function T of M, where M is the number of messages sent in a month. Second, what is given? The given are the monthly charge of the mobile plan that cost 300 pesos and a charge of 1 peso for every excess in the 100 free text messages. So those are the given in the problem. Step number 3, what operation to be used? The operations to be used are multiplication, addition, and subtraction. The same in problem number 2. So after that, write a number sentence, the last step. But here, there's an additional of 3 sub-steps. The first one, identify the intervals for which different rules apply. So that is, the mobile plan costs 300 pesos for up to 100 messages. Second, okay, that is in the problem. The second one, over 100 messages cost 300 pesos plus 1 peso per excess in 100 messages. So those are the 2 intervals that apply in the problem. So second sub-step, determine formulas that describe how to calculate an output from an input in each interval. The first interval, the mobile plan costs 300 pesos for up to 100 messages. So the formula is 300 if m, wherein the number of that represents for the number of messages, is greater than 0 but less than or equal to 100. So that will be your formula in first interval. The second interval, over 100 messages cost 300 plus 1 peso per excess in 100 messages. So the formula will be 300, which is the initial charge for the mobile plan for 100 text messages. So we will subtract 100 to m, wherein m represents for the number of text messages, and multiply that to 1. So that this will be the formula for the second interval. Okay, that is for m greater than 100. So the third sub-step, use braces and if statements to write the function. So we will just copy the 2 formulas in the interval and we will use brace and if statement. So the function notation in that problem is T of m is equal to 300 if m is greater than 0 but less than or equal to 100. And if it will become more than 100, you will use the second interval, which is 300 plus 1 times the quantity m minus 100 if m is greater than 100. So m here represents for the number of text messages. So another problem for piecewise function, which is the application of floor function. A tricycle ride in a particular town cost 8 pesos for the first 4 kilometers. And each additional integer kilometer adds 150 to the fare. Use a piecewise function to represent the tricycle fare in terms of the distance d in kilometers. So first step, what is asked in the problem is to represent the tricycle fare in terms of the distance d in kilometers using piecewise function. Second step, what is given? Identify the given in the problem. Those are the cost of the tricycle fare, which is 8 pesos for the first 4 kilometers, and each additional integer kilometer adds 150 to the fare. And the third step, what operation to be used? The operation to be used are multiplication and addition. The last step, with 3 sub-steps, write a number sentence. The first sub-step, identify the intervals for which different rules apply. The first one, the tricycle fare is 8 pesos for the first 4 kilometers. The second, over 4 kilometers, the cost is 8 pesos plus 150 per additional integer kilometer to the fare. So we will now determine the formulas that describe on that interval. The tricycle fare is 8 pesos for the first 4 kilometers. So the formula is just 8 if the distance is greater than 0 but less than or equal to 4. So that is the formula in the first interval. The second, determine formulas that describe how to calculate an output from an input in each interval, wherein the second interval is over 4 kilometers, the cost is 8 pesos plus 150 per additional integer kilometer to the fare. So that is just 8 plus 150 and the floor function. Okay, this symbol represents for the floor function, d minus 4, if d is greater than 4. So if d is greater than 4, we will use this formula, which is 8 plus 150 plus the floor function of d minus 4. So after that, we will use braces and if statement to write the function, which is f of d is equal to 8 if d is greater than 0 but less than or equal to 4. And the second subfunction, 8 plus 150 times the floor function of d minus 4 if d is greater than 4. By the way, these two are the sub-functions and this one is the subdomain. So where d is the number of kilometer. So note that the floor function d gives the largest integer less than or equal to d. So for example, the floor function of 4.2 is just equal to the floor function of 4.7, which is just equal to 4. So that is the definition of the floor function. So let us proceed with piecewise function with the application of ceiling function. So the problem is the fee to park in the parking lot of a shopping mall costs 35 pesos for the first 2 hours and an extra 15 pesos for each hour or a fraction of it after 2 hours. If you park for more than 12 hours, you instead pay a flat rate of 250 pesos. Represent your parking fee using the function p of t, where t is the number of hours you park in the mall. So first step, what is asked? The problem requires us to represent the parking fee using p of t in terms of the number of hours t you park in the mall. Second, what is given? What are the given in the problem are the parking fee cost 35 pesos for the first 2 hours and an extra of 15 pesos for each hour or a fraction of it after that, and a flat rate of 250 pesos for that more than 12 hours. So those are the given in the problem. And the third step, the operation to be used. The operations to be used are multiplication and addition. And the last step with three sub-steps. First, identify the intervals for which different rules apply. So the first interval is the parking fee is 35 pesos for the first 2 hours. Second, over 2 hours, the cost is 35 pesos plus 15 for each hour or a fraction of it. And the third one, for more than 12 hours, a flat rate of 250 pesos. Second sub-step, determine formulas that describe how to calculate an output from an input in each interval. The first interval, the parking fee is 35 pesos for the first 2 hours. 35, so the formula will become the constant 35 if t is greater than 0 or less than or equal to 2. So that is the first interval. Second, determine or the second interval, over 2 hours, the cost is 35 pesos plus 15 pesos for each hour or a fraction of it. So the formula for that interval will become 35 plus 15 times the ceiling function. Okay, this symbol, square bracket with missing at the bottom, t minus 2 is represented by a ceiling function. So this formula will be used if t is greater than 2 but less than or equal to 12. Why we subtract 2 here? Because the first 2 hours is already 35 pesos. Whatever the difference will be so multiplied to 15 and you will add that to 35 pesos. If the time you park your car in the mall is more than 2 hours. But if you park for more than 2 hours, 12 hours, a flat rate of 250 pesos. So that is 250 if t is greater than 12. So to use braces and if statement to write the function, that will become P of t equals 35 if t is greater than 0 but less than or equal to 2. The second, 35 plus 15 times the ceiling function t minus 2 if t is greater than 2 but less than or equal to 12, and a flat rate of 250 if t is greater than 12. So in this problem, t is the number of hours. So here the symbol of t is the ceiling function applied to t. The ceiling function gives the smallest integer greater than or equal to t. For example, the ceiling function 5.3 is just equal to 5.7. Ceiling function 5.7 equals, they are just the same, which is equal to 6. So that is the application of ceiling function. So thank you. Again, I'm Sir Art, I hope that you learned something in this video tutorial.